And after a wet and wild vacation on hurricane-ravaged Jamaica, we'll talk to an American who finally made it back home. Stay with us. You're in the CNN Newsroom. An American tourist in Jamaica got more than he bargained for when Hurricane Dean blew through. Ed Romaine ended up stuck for several days because he couldn't get a flight out. Last weekend, he spoke to us several times by phone from his resort right before the storm hit. At the time, though, he wasn't worried at all.
I have absolutely no doubt in the world we'll be sitting in there playing pool, drinking mojitos, and watching the wind go by.
Ed, who's a New Jersey native, has finally made it back to the States. He actually, though, is in Portland, Maine tonight. All right, Ed, you joke about that, riding out the storm with a mojito in your hand, but is that really what happened?
Pretty close. There were a few moments where the storm really started bearing down and we took the adequate cover. But after not very long, we went back out and we were playing pool, drinking mojitos, and watching the wind blow by.
Which is pretty crazy because when we look at the pictures, this storm, it's tough to forget, hit Jamaica as a Category 4. We're talking 145-mile-an-hour winds. 2 people were killed. Were you ever worried, though, at some point that you might not make it out of this?
Not really, and maybe it's because I've never been in a hurricane before, so I didn't really know how bad it was going to be. But the people at the Royal Plantation did such a great job taking care of everything that it was really, it didn't feel life-threatening. It was certainly a rush, to say the least. A rush of adrenaline? What was it like for you during this storm? Because you say they did everything to make you feel comfortable, apparently, not too worried. Right. We were in a bunker, one of the facilities with no windows and thick walls, and it was interesting watching all the different people's reactions. You had people who were crying to people who were sitting there playing Monopoly, having fun. So it was a true range of emotions and how everyone deals with stress their own way.
Yeah, it really gives you an insight into folks. Your resort, the resort where you stayed, is actually on the northern side of the island. As we know, it was really in the south that a lot of the damage was found. I know you went out after the storm, kind of looked around. What did you see, and were you able to make it to the south?
I didn't try making it down to the south because the roads were passable, but just so. It was a mess. There were trees, there was vegetation everywhere. It was a major storm, as you said, and it definitely took its toll on the internal system of the country.
You mentioned that you'd never been in one of these storms before, but from what you saw out there walking around, did it compare to the pictures that you normally see on TV? Yeah,
actually it did. It's one thing to be sitting in a 4-star resort in a bunker, and it's another thing to be living in a shanty-style home, watching parts of your livelihood in your home blow away with the wind. Yeah. So I can sit and make lights talking about my mojitos and playing pool, but for many of the natives and many of the people who live there, it had to be an absolutely scary and nightmarish type event.
Yeah, tough to imagine. Ed, we're glad you made it home safely.
Thank you very much.